read the story?
Yes.
Good night, Tilly. Here's Teddy. He'll guide you. Say good night. He's a wise old man.
Raymond Briggs's much-loved book, The Bear, has been turned into an animated film. 16 years ago, his book, The Snowman, became one of the most successful animated films ever made.
I did the thing in crayon, same as a snowman, reluctantly. I didn't really want to do it the same technique, but it's the only way that I could do it. It's very laborious and terrible for filmmakers, but it seemed to be the only method possible. They're marvellous things to draw, because they're so huge and yet soft and floppy and cuddly and yet dangerous.
When producer John Coates read The Bear, he was struck by its similarities to The Snowman.
Channel 4 and others had always wanted another snowman, and Raymond Briggs and I both agreed he melted and that was it, and we weren't going to do another one. And then I kept looking at the bear and I kept thinking about it and thinking what we could do with it and how we could develop it. That made me say, well, we could do another snowman. And it is a deliberate attempt to do another snowman. So we decided to do without words again, do it with music only, and put Mum and Dad, who had a lot of words in the book, into the background, and brought the whole relationship between the polar bear and Tilly, the little girl, into the foreground, and put together a totally different story.
To do this, he decided to bring back some of the people who made The Snowman, including key members of the production team and composer Howard Blake, creator of The Snowman's memorable song, Walking in the Air. Howard's theme song for The Bear was written for the little girl in the film, Tilly, and someone to sing the song had to be found. Using traditional handcrafted techniques, the animation team would bring the story of Tilly and the bear to life.
Raymond said to me that he wanted it to be a real polar bear. He said, I don't want one of these cartoon bears. I've always liked animating animals, so I've got a lot of empathy, and I would try and make it move correctly, because that's one thing I can't bear, is people not animating an animal correctly. If it hasn't got any weight to it or it moves incorrectly.
Wow, these are amazing.
Now, the story is of a little girl waking up and finding this enormous polar bear has come into her room, and she seems to be very unsurprised by this and treats it quite normally, and her task then is to look after it and feed it and clean up after the messes it makes, and semi-conceal it from her parents, although she goes on telling them about its existence. And this goes on for a while until the situation becomes intolerable and the bear has to go away, because bears don't live in houses except in storybooks.
When we originally did the storyboard, the only thing we left out of it was the poo, what we call the poo and the wee sequence. Because we felt that perhaps parents might not approve, but I know children would just love it. And we showed the video of the storyboard to Raymond Briggs, and at the end he sat back and he said, I love it, it's wonderful, but where are the poos and the wees? I want it back in.
They thought that was not suitable, but I thought that was quite a good thing to have, because the whole point of the bear leaving is because it's physically impossible to have a polar bear in an ordinary house, and that made that point.
What we liked about it was that Tilly just regards this polar bear as a big cuddly teddy bear, and she gets angry with it and she shoves it around, and you know that this polar bear could kill her with one swipe, and that's what we liked.
When you're making a film and you're adapting a book for a film, I think it's very important that you capture the spirit of the book. After that, I don't think it matters in absolute detail that you reproduce the book faithfully, as long as you capture the spirit of the book.
Hilary and I had to sit down and come up with an idea when they leave the house. We had so many ideas which we thought were good, but not good enough. And you know you've got to wait for that one brilliant piece of inspiration, and nothing happened.
And so I went over to her place and we sort of brainstormed. And we sat up till about 2 in the morning. And we still hadn't come up with an idea.
And then she went off to sleep in my daughter's room, because we don't have a spare bedroom here. And my daughter's room is filled. She loves stars and moons.
Her daughter has sort of stick-on stars, day-glow stars on the ceiling. The window was open and the starry night was there. And I started sort of thinking about bears and sorts of bears you have, and I then started thinking about the constellations, and I suddenly thought of Ursa Major, the star bear, and I thought, that is it. Bear, big bear, it's character.
The invention of a new character meant the story could be expanded to fill the screen time. It was now possible to produce a storyboard and a music guide track timed for each scene.
Unlike writing music for a feature film, you actually write the score first. I look at the storyboard, which is like a cartoon strip, and I start to think of the score and the tempo for each scene and how the whole thing will work from there. And I'll write a complete score that can be played by me on the piano. Well, how does a bear sing, was my first thought. They sort of growl, and I thought it would be a sort of... That was my very first thought, and it is actually the first bar of the film. And then that became...
I think the most important ingredient in the production of a successful animation film is the storyboard, and the fact that you film the storyboard and you film it to length, and you can put it on the screen and you can look at 26 minutes, and if it tells you a story, the magic is already there. And we go from there to line test, the drawn animation. We take the still storyboard pictures out, put the animated drawings in, and as that becomes colour, that comes out and the colour scene goes in. And in fact, that original animatic still drawings, it's the cutting copy, and at TVC it's the Bible, and nobody can move that without permission from the director and producer.
And now, months later,
Put in the colour.
replace the line.
Because I did the storyboard, I know the film inside out and backwards. I know every single scene, I know the characters in that scene, I know the film absolutely intimately.
This is a new scene coming up, scene 32.
Normally, for animated films, the colour is produced by painting cells. But to recreate the style of Raymond Briggs, colour was added by crayoning and virtually redrawing the animator's work. The effect is to soften the pictures, and this gives the film its distinctive look.
The role of the animator is quite simple in that you get a layout which is basically a still version of the beginning of the scene, and you get the background, and the director kind of talks you through this process of how he or she wants you to animate the scene, a little bit just like a film director would talk to an actor.
Coming round here, and he's sort of waltzing. And he's lifting up his head. Yeah. And she's sort of sliding down his neck. Various animators have strengths in various areas. Some are very good at fast action. Some are very good at subtle acting.